In this video, we're going in depth about powerful cards, game changers, and big staples. And more importantly, how cutting these cards will almost certainly make your games more enjoyable. Now, why is adding these cards bad? I mean, they make the deck better, right? Kinda yes. The answer isn't black and white. Welcome back to the channel, my name's Colin. Have you ever had a game where you feel like unstoppable? You draw your best card and you just stomp the rest of the table. You're excited for the next game, but as soon as you start building an engine, you get shut down. And shut down. Over and over and over. This is why. You see, at heart, Commander is a social format. Having 3 opponents means that some strategies are more powerful, others less so. It also means that people remember what happened in previous games and can work together to avoid repeating a mistake. If one player gets out of hand because of a lucky draw or two, the next game, everyone will be much more trigger happy with their interaction with that player, even if that game was once on a blue moon. This can often lead to games that are very all or nothing. Either you draw your best card and probably just win, or you don't, in which case your opponents are treating your deck as if it is much stronger than it is in reality. These issues usually come early in the deck building process, when you find a card which is a disproportional payoff compared to the rest of the deck. Synergistically, these cards don't really fit with the deck. They're usually powerful engines regardless of where you put them. Let's say you're playing a low power tokens deck. Should you just ram Kratos in there? I wouldn't recommend it. Now, let's get this straight. I'm not telling you don't build powerful decks. That's not what this video is about. The power level that you want to play is totally up to you and your play group. I actually think that having one deck, which is the self-appointed arch-enemy of the table, can make for interesting table dynamics. EDH is a self-balancing format in that regard. If one player has a more powerful deck, the rest of the table can work together to take them down. When this gets out of hand is when a deck isn't designed to be the arch-enemy of the table, but draws strong cards, wins one game handily, and then finds itself in the crossfire for the next few games running. The problem with these cards is they introduce a lot of power level variance into your deck. Now, you might be saying, but Commander is a high variance format. In some ways, you'd be right, but just because you might not have the same card every game, doesn't mean that your game plan has to be miles better or worse one game to the next. If you want to be able to follow your deck's game plan as often as possible, you would rather have the floor and ceiling of your deck be as close as possible in terms of power. When I was building my Grist deck, this was a big concern for me. I didn't want my deck to be able to win too quickly, in this case before turn 6, firmly cementing it in bracket 3. For a combo deck, this can sometimes be a challenge. One of the main cuts I made to achieve it was Entomb. Reanimating Colossal Grave Reaver on turn 2 allows for all sorts of shenanigans, and it's not hard to win quickly. I think that one of the most egregious cards in this category is Protein Hulk. Either your opponents can disrupt you, or you win the game easily. Neither outcome is very interesting to me. Then, next game, when you don't have the combo, you get focused down quickly as everyone remembers what happened. This is the difference between card variance and power level variance. Commander naturally has a lot of card variance, being a 100 card singleton format. You're unlikely to start with the exact same 2 cards in a row. Power level variance, on the other hand, is when one part of your deck is much stronger than the rest, making your bracket 2 deck feel like it's bracket 4 10% of the time. So what is the solution? When building a deck, put some real thought into finding cards that help progress your game plan while also fulfilling a role, rather than just fulfilling that role. Think of Bident of Thassa in a Flyers deck. Yes, it's powerful, but will you win the game if it isn't answered in a single turn cycle? Probably not. Compare this with Rhystic Study or Mystic Remora, both cards that can win a game by themselves, if not quickly removed. Do your best to make each aspect of the deck work with as many others as possible. You want a cohesive unit which is able to assemble a game plan effortlessly, not relying on broken staples to carry the game. Strive for a pile of cards which meshes well together, and thus leads to interesting and interactive games, rather than one player jamming a staple and running away with the game. Because of the amount of life that you have to get through to win a game, you can't necessarily rely on individual card quality to carry your games, as in most 1v1 formats. Thus, having a synergistic deck is the best way to generate advantage over people with big value piles. So many players start off their deck building journey by putting these staples in that it's almost refreshing to pick up a deck where you aren't relying on drawing a few individual value pieces. If you want your decks to stand out in your play group, then it's time to cut the broken cards and focus on putting together a well-oiled machine which people will remember. Now, where should you start looking for unique cards for your decks? In general, I wouldn't recommend EDH Rep. Using it as a base often leads to building the exact sort of decks that I've been decrying for the whole video. However, it can be a useful tool later in the refinement of your deck once you have a foundation in place. You can use the filters to remove the staples you're trying to avoid, and what's left is only the decks built in the style you're looking for, from like-minded people trying to steer away from the masses and build interesting and unique decks. Overall, I find that steering clear of most individually powerful cards allows you to focus your efforts on building synergistic decks with a consistent power level game to game. This means that, for me, I can enjoy the highest number of my games to the fullest without having some games where it feels like there's no competition and others where I get focused down with none of my strong cards. I've also found personally that this has been a fun deck building challenge, as when I played in the past, most of my decks were built more as value piles rather than holistic synergy packages. If you've noticed this in your decks, please give some of the ideas from this video a try. Thank you so much for watching. Please go ahead and press all the YouTube buttons to supplicate the algorithm overlords. I really hope you've enjoyed the video. If you did, let me know what you liked in the comments. If you didn't, well, let me know why I suck as well. As always, all suggestions are welcome down below. I hope I'll see you in next week's video, and until then, have a fabulous day.